Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video of the Read the Bible. We're gonna read 1 Corinthians chapter 7, like I said yesterday. So we're gonna say concerning married life. Now for the matters you wrote about, it is good for a man not to have sexual relationship with a woman. But since sexual mortality is reigning, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each wife with her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duties as wife, in likeness to the wife to her husband. A wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. The same way the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. Do not deprive each other of respect, except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may not devote yourselves to prayer, then come again, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. I say this as a concession, not as a command. I wish that all of you were as I am, but each of you has your own gift from God, and one has his own gift, the other has. And now to the unmarried in the wisdom I say, it's good for them to stay unmarried as I do, but if they cannot control themselves, they should marry. For it's better to marry than to burn with passion. To the married I give this command, but not I, but the Lord. As a wife, I must separate from her husband, but if she does, she must remain unmarried, or else be reconciled to her husband, and a husband must not divorce his wife. To those I say this, I am not the Lord. If any brother and wife who is not a believer, and she is willing to live with him, he must not divorce her. And if a woman has a husband who is not a believer, and he is willing to live with her, she must not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband has been sanctified through his wife, and the unknowing wife have been sanctified through their believing husband. Otherwise, your children would be unclean, but as it is, they are holy. But if the unbeliever leaves, let it be so. The brother or sister is not bound in such circumstances. God has called us to live in peace. How do you know, wife, whether you shall live, or your husband? Or how you know, husband, whether you will save your wife? Concerning change of status. Nevertheless, each person should live as a believer in whatever situation the Lord has assigned them, just as the God has called them. This is the rule I lay down in all the churches. Was a man already circumcised when he was called? He should not be uncircumcised. He was a man uncircumcised when he was called. He is nothing, and uncircumcised is nothing. Keeping God's command is what counts. Each person should remain in the situation they are in when God called them. Were you a slave when you were called? Do not let in trouble, although if you can gain your freedom, do so. For the one who was a slave then called to faith in the Lord is the Lord's freed person. Similarly, the one who was free when called to Christ's slave. You were bought at a price. Do not become slaves of human beings. Brothers and sisters, each person is responsible to God should remain in the situation where they're in God called them. Concerning the unmarried. Now about virgins, I have no command for the Lord, but I give a judgment as one who the Lord mercy is trustworthy, because the present crisis, I think that it's good for a man to remain as he is. Are you pledged to a woman? Do not seek to be released. Are you free from such a commitment? Do not look for life, but if you do marry, you have not sinned. And if a virgin marries, she has not sinned. But if those who marry will face troubles in life, I want to spare you this. What I mean, my brothers and sisters, is the time is short. From now on, those who have wives should live as they do not, those who mourn as if they do not, those who are happy, and if who are not, those who will buy something as if were not keep theirs to keep, those who use things of the Lord as who not express themselves, for this world is the presence of the Lord is passing away. I would like you to be free from concern. An unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs, but how can he please the Lord? But a married man is concerned about affairs of this world. How can he please his wife? And his interests are divided. And a married woman or virgin is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord in both her body and spirit. But the married woman is concerned about the affairs of the world. How can she please her husband? I am saying this for you, for your own good, not to restrict you, but may live in the right way and undivided, devoted to the Lord. If anyone is worried that he might not be acting honorably toward the virgin he is engaged to, his passions are too strong, and if he feels he ought to marry, he should do as he wants. He is not sinning. They should get married. But the man who has settled the matter of his own mind, who is under no compulsion but has control over his own will, and who has made up his mind, will not marry the virgin. This man also does the right thing. So then he who marries the virgin does right, but he who does not marry her does better. As a woman is bound to her husband as long as he lives, but if her husband dies, she is free to marry anyone she wishes, but she must belong to the Lord. In my judgment, she is happier if she stays as she is, but I think that I have to have the Spirit of God. Well, thank you guys for listening to today's episode of Reading the Bible. See y'all later.